Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Anime Ambu here, coming at you with part 20 of What If Naruto was like Minato, otherwise known as Return of the Flash on Wattpad. And listen. So, we've hit 20 parts on this series, and I am super excited for the things that are to come in the future, near future, and, you know, the far future. You know what I mean? We're at 179 subscribers last time I checked. So we are really close to 200 subs, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me, the fact that 200 people decided to subscribe. That's just insane. So just some things to get into. I just set up I set up a Discord. I've never done it before, so don't start bugging, but I set one up because I keep saying that I want to do a series with you guys. I want to do something with you guys, in the future. For my next series, I want that to be something subscriber incorporated. So I set up a Discord, and I had a comment from, I think it was like XX Racken is his name, bro. And basically, he gave me a good idea, and that we should, write the next series together, put a bunch of ideas, I'll write the series, and, you guys can, be incorporated in that and, incorporate your ideas into that and things of that nature, maybe some characters, who knows, sky's the limit. So I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video, so join up on the Discord, and then we'll write this story together as a group, as a collective, and that'll be a 200 sub, 100 sub kind of special thing that I'm going to do. And, yeah, so that's going to be that. Really looking forward to that and your guys' ideas and the things that you come up with for this story that's going to be coming. So, yeah, if you want to hop on that, I'll leave the link in the description, or just comment it if you want me to send you a link. I'll do that. But without further ado, like, comment, and subscribe. I respond to all comments, heart all comments, like all comments. Genuinely appreciate them, and I appreciate all the love. And without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Shikamaru looked as lazy as usual, but he closely observed his opponents. His opponent, the girl from Sand, looked every bit confident of her victory, but there was a small hint of apprehension in her eyes, which darted around the arena anxiously. He didn't bother looking at Shino. The guy was as stoic as a stone. He never gave away anything. The glasses and high collar of his jacket only made it difficult to read him. The puppeteer from Sand was just like his sister, but unlike her, there was no anxiousness radiating from him. The last guy from Sand was the one that bothered Shikamaru the most. The redhead was dangerous, no doubt about that. Although his expression was stoic, it was betrayed by the sheer amount of bloodlust he could feel from the guy. He still remembered what happened to Lee in the prelims. Gaara had not hesitated one bit to kill him with his sand. He was a seasoned killer, one that Shikamaru doubted anyone wanted to cross. From the minute twitches that he could see, Shikamaru deduced that he had eagerly been waiting on the fight. He looked over to Neji, who was Naruto's opponent, regarding as the rookie of the year of his batch. Neji was proclaimed genius of the Hyuga, who were also known for their deadly and unique Taijutsu. While a formidable opponent, Shikamaru doubted he would win against Naruto. He knew that Naruto was powerful, but he had the feeling that Naruto had yet to show what he was fully capable of. Speaking of, he looked around trying to find his blonde friend. Him and Sasuke, both of them, were absent from the lineup, as well as the audience stands. If they didn't come arrive right now, troublesome, he muttered. The proctor, a different one from the prelims, was standing in front of their lineup. A lazy one from what he could see. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chunin exam finals. I'm Shiranui Genma, the proctor of this stage. The matches will be as follows. Uzumaki Naruto versus Hyuga Neji. Uchiha Sasuke versus Sabaku no Gaara. Abrame Shino versus Sabaku no Kankuro. Sabaku no Tamari versus Nara Shikamaru. Turning his attention to the lineup, Genma continued. The rules are the same as the preliminaries. However, whether you win or lose doesn't matter. Your promotion will be decided based on your skill, your strategy, and execution. Stands. Sakura looked worried as she tried to spot her two teammates. Ino, who was sitting with her, said, "Where do you think are your teammates, Sakura?" While she still believed Sasuke would win the finals, she had gained a healthy amount of respect for the blonde Uzumaki. Ever since she suffered that humiliating defeat at his hands, the ease at which he handled her told her how pathetic she really was. Also, it was evident just how much he was holding back from absolutely thrashing her. Sakura shook her head worryingly. "I don't know. Where are you, Sasuke-kun, Naruto?" A sound finally came above the finalists, which caught hers and everyone's attention. Arena. The proctor was just about to speak some more when a sound above them caused everyone, including the audience and Kage, to look up. In a puff of smoke, a small object fell right in front of the assembled Genin. It was revealed to be a kunai, but not just any kunai, a three-pronged kunai. Oh, this is his entrance. There was a collective gasp among the audience when they recognized what it was. Genma had wide eyes as he stared at the kunai, being reminded of the only person in the entire nation who used to wield these. Before he could think of anything, a person appeared in a blue flash. A pin-drop silence washed over the entire stadium as everyone got a good look at the person, Kage's box. Hiruzen stared in awe as the person was revealed to be just who he thought it would be. Ah, Kami. He looked just like his father. Minato, you would be proud of who he's become. Beside him, Orochimaru was seething. His fists were hidden from view so that no one could see that they were clenched tightly. Uzumaki Naruto. It is not possible for anyone to master that jutsu in just a month, which means you knew it well before, and you knowingly held back against me. Very bold. But then he smirked. If you weren't the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, I would have marked you instead of Sasuke. To have that jutsu in my arsenal, I would have been unstoppable. Stands. Everyone's eyes were at the point of bulging out when they saw the kunai used by their beloved Yondaime thrown into the arena. Everyone had gasped collectively and had jumped up on reflex when the person who had likely thrown the kunai had appeared. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be, were the thoughts of everyone. They were filled with disbelief, trying to deny what was right in front of their eyes, but no matter how much they wanted to, it was simply undeniable. Spiky blonde hair, which was no longer tied in a ponytail, but in a style that painfully reminded them of a similar blonde. 2 jaw-length spiky bangs, although tied beneath the headband of the bangs themselves tied around the middle. There was no mistaking just who the blonde Uzumaki resembled so much. He was literally a copy of Minato Namikaze, with only his hairstyle distinguishing from the famous Hokage. The Yondaime couldn't return from the dead, which left only one conclusion, to think that the demon container was also the son of the Yondaime. The crowd explodes and mutters, exclaiming, "Yondaime?" mostly drowning any other verbal exclamation. It was something that no one had expected to see. No one knew that the Yondaime had a legacy, and now that they thought about it, it was right in front of their eyes the entire time. Guilt began to creep in every Konoha villager and how they treated the boy, who was almost royalty considering just whose legacy he represented. "Is that Naruto? He looks so hot," Ino cried out as she hungrily looked at Naruto. Then she closely looked at Naruto. While he had only changed his hairstyle, he closely resembled a person that was on the tip of her tongue. Sakura was beside herself as she gazed upon Naruto's new look with a slight blush. He looked almost as handsome as Sasuke-kun, if not more. Arena. Naruto stood in a crouch, right hand grasping the handle of the kunai and the eyes in the front. Facing the Genin assembled, he took in the expressions of everyone. Shikamaru's narrowed gaze, Shino's raised eyebrows, Kankuro's frown, Tamari's appreciative but slightly guarded gaze, Neji's narrowed eyes but otherwise neutral expression. But what put him on guard most was Gaara. Pulling out the lodged kunai with a slight jerk, he slowly stood up, maintaining eye contact with Gaara. Gaara's mouth almost twisted in a manic smile, but it was so quick that Naruto would have missed it if it were not for looking for it. He stood up to his full height, towering 4 full inches above him. Without breaking eye contact, both of them seemed to size each other up. It was as if, along with them, their biju were also looking at each other through their eyes. A new feeling washed over the assembled group. It was as if, at first, there was an existing sensation of a contest between them. Tamari and Kankuro knew that Gaara was the strongest among the 3 of them, and the Genin from Konoha knew Neji was the strongest among them. It was a clash between both groups, but with Naruto's arrival, it seemed the purpose of the clash went utterly void. For here was a Genin whose aura seemed to say that he already knew he was the strongest among them. True that, cuz. No cap. Oh my lord, bro. Yo, you don't understand. Like, I get just as hyped as you guys do. Like, I know I'm reading this, but, like, I am hyped just like y'all. Like, I am very hyped right now. I was left on a cliffhanger, too. I didn't read ahead just so I could maintain this, like, excitement, So, yeah. The feeling was unsettling. Uzumaki, Gaara whispered, though it was perfectly conveyed through his bloodlust. Naruto did not change his expression, prompting Gaara to continue. Mother cries for your blood. Naruto merely lifted an eyebrow and said, she's gonna have to wait. He then proceeded to stand next to Shikamaru, who turned an annoyed expression to him. You're a troublesome guy, have I ever told you that? Naruto smirked but said nothing. Genma gazed at Naruto for one more moment, before turning a gaze and calling out, just to be clear, I'll say it one more time. The same rules applied last time. Opponents continue to fight until one is either knocked out or unable to continue. I also reserve the rights to stop the match when I see fit. With that, the contestants of the first match will step forward. The others will proceed to the contestant stand to wait for their match. Ooh, boy, this is about to be Naruto versus Neji. I don't know how far we're going to get in this part, but yeah, I'm excited. Shikamaru patted Naruto on his shoulder and walked off to sit with the rest of the rookies. When the field cleared, it was just Neji, Naruto, and Genma, who stood between the two fighters as the two sized each other up. You should give up, Uzumaki. Fate has already decreed me to be the winner today. Neji broke the silence, informing Naruto as if it was a fact, nothing more. Naruto smirked, both at the squeals from the female audience and what he was about to say at him, and replied, "Your eyes are said to be great, yet they can't even see that fate is not the proctor of this match. Genma-san is." Neji's eyes hardened. "Everything in life is set by fate, as is your defeat, but I can see you do not understand fate." Simply slipping into his stance, he continued, "Allow me to explain by demonstrating it to you." Genma knew an opportunity when he saw it. He swung his hand down in a slicing motion. "Hajime!" Immediately jumping back, he made a half ram seal. 8 clones popped into existence. "Go," he commanded. All of them moved in to engage. Neji did not seem alarmed at all. He calmly engaged the clone with controlled expertise, slowly but surely dispatching them. Naruto observed that Neji's eyes never once moved in their sockets, always gazing forward. As the last of the clones was finished off, Neji was surprised a bit by that another batch was already moving in to engage, but no matter, they would not win. Fate had decreed him to be the victor of this match. Stands. What is he doing using Kage Bunshin against Neji? Asuma wondered, confused by Naruto's tactics. Alongside him, Kurenai and Guy were also wondering the same thing. If he knows the Hiraishin, he could have ended this match so easily. Why hasn't he? With Neji's Byakugan, any type of attack using clones wouldn't work because of all-around vision, Guy put in thoughts. Perhaps there is more to this match than just achieving victory that we are not seeing. A few seats away, the head of the heiress of the Hyuga clan watched the match with impassive expressions. Hiyashi paid careful attention to the Uzumaki, who was intentionally studying Neji's fighting style, no doubt about it. Naruto was the son of his old friend, the Yondaime. Had he not known that Naruto knew that jutsu that made Minato Namikaze so known, he would have been in favor of Neji's victory. But now he felt like Naruto was setting Neji up for something. Like a predator playing with its prey before finishing it off. He would have told Hanabi about his assurance of Neji's victory, but that was before he realized just who Neji was facing. He watched closely and chose to keep quiet. In the arena, "There!" Naruto mentally exclaimed as Neji finished off the fourth batch of shadow clones. He waited for Neji to get his breath back as he prepared himself, setting him to his stance. He found out all he needed to fight this match on his terms. Neji finished off the last clone and faced the original, all the while mentally cursing. While it took much longer than he estimated, he was able to finish them all off. But that wasn't surprising. The clones, along with the original, didn't seem to have any chakra network at all. The Hyuga clan's Taijutsu was largely based on attacking the Tenketsu in the chakra network, cutting off the flow of chakra where they struck. However, the revelation that Naruto didn't have a chakra network almost made his Taijutsu null and void. It was almost like fighting blind. Almost. Along with learning the locations of the Tenketsu, the Hyuga also learned the locations of various pressure points. With the option of striking the Tenketsu out, he only had pressure points to rely on. While not as many as the number of Tenketsu, there were enough for him to strike. He turned to the original, watching him settle into a strange stance. He settled into his, knowing that Uzumaki Naruto had given him yet another reason, along with being the son of the Yondaime, to believe that he was a very dangerous opponent. "I presume you know that I'm not a normal opponent by now," Naruto called out. Neji narrowed his eyes and deactivated them. "Indeed, you are not, but that doesn't matter. Fate has spoken in my favor today, which is why you will lose." Naruto narrowed his eyes. "If you insist on believing so much in fate, then allow me to show you just how fragile the concept of fate is." With that, he moved. Almost everyone, including the Jonin in the stands, was perplexed as one movement, Naruto was standing 10 feet away, and the next moment, a foot was being barely blocked by the Hyuga. Many people thought that it was the Hiraishin. However, when Neji was sent skidding back from the force of the kick, they realized that Naruto had moved so fast that the momentum had augmented the force behind the kick, causing Neji to go skidding backwards. But Naruto had only started. What? Neji had barely begun to think when Naruto attacked again. He was shocked at just how fast and ruthless he was forced onto the defensive. As he tried to block the attacks, Neji had thought that Naruto's fighting style was focused more on strength rather than attacks, rather than speed. He was promptly proved that when he failed to hide his winces when he felt the force behind each of the attacks. He moved by instinct as he attempted to redirect the force behind Naruto's attacks. The speed behind his attacks was nothing to scoff at as well. While the strikes had an impressive force behind them, they seemed to be augmented by the sheer speed that Naruto was using to strike. Son of the Yondaime indeed. Only years of training in the martial arts of his family and developing his instincts allowed him to dodge his attacks. Even then, he was dodging and blocking by instinct only. That wasn't the only problem. His hands were feeling unusually hot. Neji's thought process resulted in a punch slipping past his guard, right into his left cheek, and he found himself flying backwards from the force. He prevented from landing on his back by twisting himself midair and landing on his feet. His hands came up to tenderly rub the surprisingly slightly burnt area as he narrowed his eyes, trying to figure just how Naruto was defying fate. Kage box. Hiruzen was thoroughly impressed when he saw Naruto engage Neji in Taijutsu. Usually it was considered suicidal to engage a Hyuga in Taijutsu, but it seemed Naruto had no such qualms. Not just that, but his Taijutsu was effectively enough to put a Hyuga on the defensive, and it seemed he added his own touch to it if it was the small burn on Neji's face was anything to go by. Most unpredictable ninja indeed. He pulled out a notepad which he had brought to write down points on which each genin qualified for the position. He wrote down something and kept it aside. Your genin is quite impressive and bold, Hokage-dono. He must be very confident to engage a shinobi of the Hyuga clan in Taijutsu. Orochimaru commented, playing his role as the supposed Kazekage. Hiruzen chuckled. I'm sure that is only the beginning, Kazekage-dono. He will surprise us of that, I have no doubt. He mentally thought, you don't give me the credit I deserve, Orochimaru. Don't think I don't know that's a you in those robes. Stands. The surprise was evident on the face of the three Jonin. Not every day do you see the prodigal Hyuga being bested by the supposedly dead last, now revealed to be the son of their late Hokage in Taijutsu. Guy was crying, shouting something about Naruto's youth, with Lee vehemently agreeing with him. Kami, is this really what he's capable of? Ino whispered in amazement and slight fear. She was suddenly infinitely grateful that Naruto hadn't gone full force in their spar that day. If he had, she would have really been dead. Naruto, Sakura whispered in awe as she watched her teammate best one of the Hyuga with their own game. It suddenly became clear how just how utterly huge the gap in their skill was. She couldn't even begin to see his movements. That's how fast he was. The first attack alone wouldn't have taken her out of the fight. A few feet away, Hinata was watching with a slight smile as Naruto held his own against her prodigal cousin. Naruto-kun. Kiba, on the other hand, was shocked and almost jealous at the speed and skill Naruto was displaying. It made him think back to his own fight against the blonde, and he ruefully smiled at how easily he was beaten. He had grown up with Naruto, and if there was anything he could say for certain about the blonde, it was that Naruto never gave up. He could say without a doubt that Naruto had trained his ass off to reach where he was now. It was sort of inspiring to him to become the same. After all, if Naruto could do it, why couldn't he? Arena. Neji hid his wince as he kept his gaze on Naruto. Slowly standing up, he evaluated on whatever he had experienced so far. There's no doubt that he is physically strong, almost on the same level of Lee. I'm willing to bet he could withstand the amount of force he dished out in his attacks as well. And he is unbelievably fast, unbelievably so. Nothing else would be expected of the son of the fastest shinobi to ever live, after all. I never knew that it was possible to have such impossibly fast reflexes. His fighting style is lethal, but in a way I've never seen before. Every fighting style has a focal point which is based on. Guy Sensei's Goken is based on strength. Juken is based on precision. His style seemingly incorporates strength, speed, flexibility, and precision. It's as if he can switch to any one of them if he proves one to be inadequate against his opponent. Not just that, his movements are bizarre. He seems to have mastered the way to perfectly switch from one set of movements to the other without hesitation. His hands also feel as if they're on fire, burning any area of contact. Fully standing up, he took a deep breath to center himself. I'll have to avoid his hands, know pretty much every blow. Am I getting to you with that fragility of your so-called fate? Naruto asked, and no one missed the sarcasm in his voice. Neji chose to ignore that, instead asked, how did you manage to burn my face? Naruto rose his eyebrow in a way that strongly reminded Neji of himself. He raised his eyebrow that way when his teammates seemed to suggest an utterly stupid idea. So that's how it feels to be on the receiving end of it, huh? He felt quite stupid, to be honest, and was a bit glad that he had a burn on his cheek. Otherwise, his blush would have been caught. What idiot reveals the secret of his or her technique, Baka? Naruto asked in a bored tone. Kagebox. Hiruzen heartily laughed at the question. It was highly amusing when in his youth, his opponents seemed to spare him the thought process of trying to figure out their technique by revealing it on their own. It allowed him to create a counter strategy quite easily. Instead of finishing him off, they seemed to choose to gloat about their techniques. What idiots. A very true question. Won't you agree, Kazekage Dono? Orochimaru forced out a chuckle, which, while he couldn't shake off the feeling that the old monkey knew it was him and was openly mocking him. I agree, Hokage Dono. Hiruzen smirked and turned back to watch what was turning out to be a highly interesting match. So far, Naruto had only shown his superiority prowess in Taijutsu and had yet to show that he was qualified for him to beginning. And he yet to show something that qualified in the beginning, except for keeping emotions under control. He had to keep his smirk from widening, for he was reminded of the younger Orochimaru bragging about the secret behind the technique he developed behind himself. What an idiot. Stands. Kiba shared the amusement with the Hokage, for he was laughing as well. He never knew Naruto had it in him to mock others. Hinata was trying to hide her giggles behind her hand. It would not do if her father caught her laughing at Naruto calling her cousin an idiot. Sakura and Ino shared no restraints and were full out giggling. The Jonin had mixed reactions. Asuma had snorted at and had to catch his smoking stick from flying onto the head of a person in front of him. Kuronai was stifling her giggles like her student, not wanting to offend Guy for laughing at his student. Guy was an entirely different response. Instead of being offended on behalf of his student, tears came from his eyes and he clenched his fist. What a hip response, no doubt. You have passed your coolness onto your student, my eternal rival Kakashi. Needless to say, he entirely ignored the insult on Neji, choosing to focus on how hip and cool Naruto's response was. Arena. Neji had barely kept himself from turning red in embarrassment at all the giggles in the stadium that were aimed at him as a result of Naruto's comeback. Naruto was entirely amused by the giggles resounding in the stadium, but chose to keep it to himself, no need to embarrass him any further. Time to continue the fight. This time was a little bit of misdirection. Neji was already worn out and trying to reduce the feeling of stupidity in himself, so when Naruto suddenly disappeared from in front of him, he was caught unaware. Naruto grinned as a solid kick connected to Neji's left shoulder, sending him flying away from him for the second time in the fight. He twisted and landed on his feet, but was given no time to recover as he engaged the Uzumaki and Taijutsu yet again. He activated his Byakugan this time, watching out for Naruto no doubt. Katon chakra enhanced his hand strikes. But for some reason, Uzumaki's hands were lacking the chakra that was making them heated, so Neji jumped at the opportunity to block rather than dodge, all the while trying to find an opening. He also deactivated his eye to conserve chakra. He would endure the punishing force for a short while. Maybe he should taunt him a bit. You're not fighting with your chakra-coated strikes as you were before, Uzumaki. He smirked as he saw Naruto narrowing his eyes. It seems this is where fate draws the line for you, using that technique. He was shocked, however, when Naruto, instead of getting enraged like he once, snorted out loud. In a surprising maneuver, Naruto locked himself with Neji, holding him in place. As much as Neji tried, he would only move if he managed to overpower him. Yet not happening. Neji grunted as he tried to get out of the lock Uzumaki had put him in, but as much as he struggled, he couldn't move a limb on the blonde. His face twisted in a snarling, locked eyes with Naruto, who had a neutral expression on his face. Whatever he was going to say was thrown out of the window at the blonde's words. Only a pansy like you would call misdirection as an act of fate. He saw it, but could do absolutely nothing to stop it. Futon, Repoucho! Wind-style gale palm. A clone had appeared beside them, without any hand seals, causing a gasp to resonate through the shinobi part of the crowd. Had enough compressed air in his hand to cleanly blow Neji away almost 20 meters. Naruto had released him from the lock at the very last second. While the force was enough to send him flying, it lacked a damaging component. But instead of feeling relief, Neji only felt dread. He had a feeling that Uzumaki had planned something much worse for him. Unlike the previous times, Neji failed to add grace to his landing and as such rolled toughly onto the ground. Remembering that Uzumaki would not likely give him time to recover, he quickly got up to his feet, just in time to see four shuriken converging on him with deadly accuracy. He jumped to the side to avoid them, but was surprised by the blonde yet again. So he decided to switch to long-distance attacks. This is good for me, for I might be able to use this window of time to recover a bit. But that thought was thrown out the window in the next moment. Naruto had predicted in a split second where Neji would land after he avoided those shuriken. So he had cleverly thrown 3 kunai wrapped with explosive tags of his own design to that spot. Neji gritted his teeth as the kunai came closer and closer. It seems I'll have to use that. Naruto watched as the kunai almost hit Neji, his eyebrows raised in surprise when Neji suddenly spun. So fast that he wasn't even visible anymore and was covered in the dome of his own chakra. Hakusho Kaiten! Naruto activated his exploding tags just as they reached Neji and watched with a mix of curiosity and fascination that the dome of chakra spinning around Neji completely protected him from the resulting explosion. Stands, Hanabi turned to her father. Tosan, isn't that... Yes, Hiyashi replied instantly. His own eyes were narrowing as he clenched his fist. Kaiten is supposed to be a technique of the main house. How does Neji, a member of the branch house, know it so well? Arena. Shit, I gotta swallow. I've been going, like, straight for a grip now. 24 minutes is a long part. Man, y'all lucky. Y'all real lucky. Y'all are real lucky. I thought that this was shorter. This is going fast. Neji stopped spinning and couldn't really hide the smugness from his voice as he saw the expression on Naruto's face. He could gloat later, but right now he would capitalize on this small window of opportunity. No need to use the Byakugan, for he knew exactly where to strike. Naruto had immediately created 5 clones to scope out Neji's new technique and find a weakness. But his opponent's words momentarily gave him applause. You are now in my field of divination, Neji ominously announced, not wanting to give Neji a chance of using his technique. 2 of them shot forward to engage him, but this time Neji was ready, hands moving in a blur. 2 palms, 4 palms, another clone gone. 8 palms, the last one tried to shield himself. Futile effort. Even if you have no Tenketsu, the physical damage from the strikes alone will send you down. 16 palms, Naruto grunted as his hand slammed into him with considerable speed. 32 palms, 64 palms. Naruto skid back as Neji finished his technique, breathing evenly. But he chose to keep his Byakugan deactivated for the majority of the fight. He had more than enough chakra to keep going. It was easy to ignore the physical pain when you train with people such as Gai Sensei. Naruto had blood dripping from his mouth. He went down on one knee, drawing gasps from the crowd. This was the first time he had taken any damage in this fight, and it was enough to send him to one knee. Looking at Neji, he asked in obvious pain, I assume you were going for physical damage if you couldn't find my Tenketsu, weren't you? Neji felt a sense of superiority as he looked down on Naruto. No one remained in fighting condition after getting hit by the 8 trigram 64 palms technique. You assumed correctly. While you were formidable for some time, this is where this ends. Uzumaki, I told you before, fate has decreed that I win today. Kage box. Orochimaru smiled under the veil. Most formidable technique from the Hyuga clan, Hokage Dono. I wonder if this is the end for the young Uzumaki. Hiruzen smiled as he wrote something down on the work as a notepad. Don't worry, Kazekage Dono. Naruto won't go down that easily. Stands. The Jonin had confused looks on their face. Why did Neji do that? Couldn't he see it? Guy was rubbing his chin. I don't know what Neji was thinking when he did that, but it clearly didn't work the way he might have expected. While the news that Naruto didn't have a chakra network was quite staggering, they wanted to see how Neji would work his way around it. The Genin, on the other hand, were different parts, worried and resigned. Kiba, Hinata, Sakura, and Ino were more worried looks as they looked at Naruto. Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered in a worry, knowing just how formidable that technique that Neji used was. Even if Neji didn't have Tenketsu to strike, the muscles that were struck would suffer considerable damage. What a technique, Ino whispered in awe as she looked at the kneeling form of Naruto. Naruto had completely dominated the fight from the beginning, but Neji had surprisingly turned the table with just one move. Get up, Naruto! Sasuke was chanting in her mind, restraining from saying it out loud. Tenten, on the other hand, just shook her head as if she knew that this was going to happen. While you were good, Naruto, there's no way you can recover from this. Arena. Naruto, despite being pained, chuckled. Neji rose an eyebrow. What's so funny? Naruto looked up with mirth swimming in his eyes. And I told you, fate is very fragile. And he burst into smoke. Cheers erupted from the crowd as it revealed that Uzumaki had pulled a fast one on everyone, including Neji. The Genin cursed as he activated his Byakugan and looked around. He almost gasped when he found where Naruto was, but wasn't able to react in time. Naruto burst from the ground behind him, a predatory grin on his face and body already in motion. Neji was able to angle his body so that his left shoulder took the hit instead of his head. He winced as the already abused shoulder took another hit and he was sent toppling away. Naruto brushed off some dirt as Neji let out a small groan of pain and frustration, standing up. Most people don't think to look down at the last second, am I right? Neji said nothing as he gazed scornfully at the smirking blonde. You made the mistake of deactivating your eyes. If you hadn't, you might have noticed that I substituted my clone at the last second. Your mistake also allowed me to hide without worry under the ground. Pretty good for misdirection and deception, don't you think? Neji gritted his teeth. Even if you had substituted with your clone, a shadow clone gets dispelled after one hit. Naruto made a sound of mock realization. Oh, that! Yeah, I reinforced it with chakra. It's really not that difficult. He then smirked in a way that sent shivers down Neji's spine. I've somewhat heard about your defensive technique, the ultimate defense of the Hyuga, isn't it? Neji said nothing, which was more than enough than an answer. Holding up 4 shuriken, he challenged. Let's test that so-called ultimate defense, shall we? Kage box. Your Genin is very ingenious, Hokage Dono. Hiruzen nodded, pride coursing through him as how Naruto was handling himself. So far, Naruto had demonstrated skills that were already above the qualification level of Chunin. He wondered just how Naruto planned to break the ultimate defense of the Hyuga, stance. Kiba, Ino, and Sakura had shouted in glee when Naruto had popped, the real Naruto kicking Neji away. Hinata had quietly cheered for Naruto while Tenten was in a state of disbelief. While even Lee couldn't get up after Neji's technique, it was a whole nother thing to avoid it successfully altogether. Back hurts. Yo, y'all don't know this, but it is 5:30 in the morning. If y'all don't know, I record these episodes super early in the morning, like super early. Oh, I cracked my neck. Oh, that felt so good. I just cracked my neck like no other. All right, let's go. Arena. The shuriken whizzed towards Neji, who jumped to the side to avoid them. Opting to conserve chakra, he was stupefied, however, when he spotted a giant ball of fire making his way towards him. Fast. I have no time to jump again. He was forced to resort to his defense. Kaiten! Neji reached his maximum rotation speed just as a fireball reached him. The fireball crashed into the spinning dome of chakra, taking only 5 seconds to disperse, which was 4 seconds too late for Neji. It was hard to accurately keep track of your surroundings when you're spinning at a really high speed. So one moment Neji was inside the dome, the other moment Naruto was inside with him. Wait, what? This time Neji didn't even have time to be fully surprised as he was punched in the face hard. The sudden application of the external force disrupted the kaiten and Neji was bodily thrown through the fireball. I'm really getting tired of being thrown like that, Neji lamented as he stood up once again, a bit burnt from going through the fireball. Stance. Asuma and Kurenai were gawking at the way Naruto broke the defensive technique. One moment he was standing outside the dome, the other moment they all saw him disappearing and appearing instantly inside the dome in a blue flash. Hiraishin, Guy whispered in awe. Even if he had not found a way to yet break the defensive technique, but if the Hiraishin could surpass defenses with such amount of ease, it was really a terrifying technique. No wonder the Yondaime was so feared. Kagebox. I really have no more words to describe how impressive that genin of yours is, Hokage Dono. To learn and master the Yondaime's most feared technique at such a young age is no small feat, the Kazekage complimented. Hiruzen smirked and nodded. That was a masterful use of the Hiraishin. Naruto must have marked Neji at the very first opportunity. Also, to be capable of using 2 elemental natures is very impressive, Orochimaru complimented. Hiruzen accepted the compliment on behalf of Naruto with a nod and a smirk. Arena. Dude, this fight is long-winded, bruh. 30 minutes in, yeah. Neji breathed heavily as he gazed at Naruto. He was down to just a quarter of his chakra reserves, while Naruto had yet to show any sign of fatigue. When he didn't know that Naruto's chakra reserves were so much longer that he had only used a small drop of the entirety yet. How did I break your defense? Naruto helpfully finished it for him. When he saw him nod, he sighed. Well, I did say before that only idiots reveal their technique. It's no big secret as the way I appeared inside with you. Reaching behind him, he pulled out a Hiraishin kunai dangling in on his index finger. I'm sure you know what this is. He looked around discreetly, seeing that he had captured the attention of the entire audience. This is a kunai that was once used by my father, Namikaze Minato. Mutters rose in the crowd in response to the confirmation of their thoughts from before, but quickly silenced when Naruto continued. The Hiraishin no Jutsu is a space-time technique, a combination of ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. Basically, this formula here, he showed him with his imprinted formula, acts as a beacon for me. Wherever this formula is, I can teleport there without any problems. That means the reason I was able to get in there is because you had already had a mark on you. Neji had never widened his eyes this much in his entire life. He desperately searched for the place where Naruto had placed his formula and found it beneath his forearm. Never before had he been so outclassed in a fight. He had failed to notice such a simple thing. Naruto spun the kunai, catching it in reversal. The look on his face was almost as if set in stone. It was the same look that Yellow Flash gave to his enemies before killing them. I could have ended the fight the moment we engaged in Taijutsu. In another scenario, if you would have been my enemy and not a comrade, you were dead the moment I put this mark on you. Silence rang in the entire statement as the cold truth of the words hit each person. It was only now they realized just how truly dangerous and lethal the Yondaime's use of this jutsu was. It was basically as if you were marked by death. If you had this mark, there was no escape for you. Then, why didn't you? Naruto raised an eyebrow and put the kunai back in his pouch. Tell me something, Neji. Why do you believe in fate so much? What gives you the excuse to claim that everything is fated to be? Neji looked surprised for a moment, but then his eyes hardened. He reached for his headband and removed it. Because of this, he said, pointing to a green seal on his forehead. It was a cross in the middle with hooks on either side of the cross. The Burj Cade seal is given to the branch house members of the Hyuga clan by the main house members. While it may seem that both houses are family, it is a lie. The cold reality is that the branch members only act as servants to the main house. He explained. Naruto didn't attack him when Neji closed his eyes, instead opting to hear his story out. This seal is given to branch house members to protect our prized bloodline from falling into our enemy's hands. After the death of a house member, the seal activates and the seals of the abilities of the Byakugan. By that, I mean this seal binds us until death, a destiny from which we cannot escape. Neji told him about the Hyuga incident which happened 8 years ago, how Hinata was almost kidnapped by the ambassador of Kumo Gakure no Sato, how the village had demanded the death of Hiyashi Hyuga as compensation, how his father was offered instead. Till the end of the explanation, Naruto did not allow one speck of emotion to show on his face. When Neji was finished, then Naruto spoke. You speak that it is fate that the branch member will always remain bound, yet you contradict your own belief when you tried to kill Hinata in the prelims. You tried to divert from your predestined path. All of this because you hold a grudge against the main family? Neji finally lost control of himself. My father was taken away from me because Hiyashi-sama couldn't take responsibility for his actions. My father had to give his own life just so Hiyashi-sama could keep on living. Naruto said nothing for a while. Neji thought he had gotten through to the blonde, but was shell-shocked when he heard Naruto's words. I already planned on winning today, but I'll say it just for you. I won't be losing to a coward who always blames all his problems on the nonsense such as fate. Someone as ignorant as you is in no position to lecture me, Neji shot back. You can never understand what it's like to be burdened by a symbol you can never be rid of. Deep evil anime laugh. There was a pin drop silence in the whole stadium. The whole stadium felt the impact of the words. Neji couldn't have been more wrong. The senior shinobi feared Naruto would lose it, even the Hokage, but thankfully, Naruto kept a tight lid on his emotions. It wouldn't do losing it in the center of a crowd. Naruto sighed wistfully, whispering, You're wrong. I know exactly how it feels. But enough talk, he finished in a strong voice. He made a ram seal, and Neji felt that it was better to be cautious rather than just wait to see what happened. Immediately he jumped back, or tried to anyways. It wasn't as if he was paralyzed, but it felt like his body was stuck in mud. Just as you have to struggle to move your limbs when drowned in water or mud, Neji had to struggle just to move his arms. It was as if he was stuck in clay. What the hell is this? Naruto was calmly walking forward, now that he had successfully activated his seal. Resistance seals. While normally used for training, it's somewhat unusual to apply it in combat. You are currently experiencing a level 3 resistance. Fuin Jutsu is perhaps the most versatile of the shinobi arts, won't you agree? Kage Box. Your Genin is just so full of surprises, Hokage Dono, to make use of seals so efficiently in combat with just his chakra. It's almost as if he's already an expert. Not many choose to study that particular art. Hiruzen chuckled in reply. Naruto is more than just skilled in Fuin Jutsu. He is perhaps the most skilled person I have ever seen. Not surprising if you consider just who his father was. The other Kage nodded in approval. He definitely qualifies for tuning. To think he had managed to put a raijin and a resistance seal on his opponent. He had been several steps ahead of his opponent right from the beginning of the match. Hiruzen absolutely nodded, choosing to focus on the match. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, Fuin Jutsu. I didn't know Naruto knew Fuin Jutsu like that, Ino exclaimed. Sakura smiled proudly of having a teammate like Naruto. Naruto's an expert in them, you know? Kiba hollered, Yosh, go Naruto! Tenten was dumbstruck just how many steps Naruto had been ahead of her teammate. The Jonin were beside themselves, Asuma rubbing his head. You know, he really is quite well versed in sealing at his age. Not many people can apply seals with just chakra like that. Kurenai nodded, and both of them tried to block out guys shouting at how youthful Naruto's display was. Arena, this is almost over. Let's go, guys. The end of part 20. Oh no. Neji stood rooted in his place, and to his horror, Naruto came running towards him. With him being unable to do anything, he received a painful punch to the right cheek. The force behind it was enough to send him stumbling to his left. It hurt considerably. He was experiencing resistance in his movements. Naruto was suddenly in front of him, punching at the same spot again, only this time it hurt a lot more than before. The result was the same. Neji was sent stumbling to his left. Finishing it off, Naruto 540-degree kick to the side of his head. He spun a full 360 plus another 180. He did 1.5 spins. Right, that's 540. 360, 180, 40, 440, 100, 540. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. I just want to make sure my math is right. He was sent onto the ground, and this time there was no getting back up. You might think that it was because of the resistance seals, but no. He had taken way too many hits, and his body had finally given up. Neji could do nothing but glare at Naruto as he crouched in front of him. I told you, Naruto stated softly. Fate is a fragile concept. Our destiny is never set in stone, Neji. I'm not strong because I was fated to be. I chose to work hard to reach where I am now. Minato calls you Neji-Nisan, doesn't she? You should really stop treating her like the way you do. She only wants to unite the branch and main family with the main family. She looks up to you as her big brother. It is only fitting you treat her like your sister. It's time you stepped up and stopped using fate as an excuse. He then removed the resistance seals from Neji. He stood up and started walking away, letting the medics carry the injured Hugo away. He smiled as he heard a soft, maybe you're right. Perhaps there was some hope after all. Damn, Genma declared loudly, the winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Jesus Christ. Alright. Flex. No flex. Zone. Y'all remember that song? No flex. Zone. They know. But no? Okay. Alright. Well, that's the end of part 20 of What If Naruto Was Like Minato, otherwise known as Return of the Flash on Wattpad. Man, I'm tired. It's damn near 6 in the morning. And I haven't slept. And I need some sleep. So, listen. Like, comment, and subscribe. I respond to all comments. I heart all comments. I like all comments. And I genuinely appreciate them. If I am a little late to your comment, don't fret. I will get around to it. Or if I just don't see it, because sometimes the notifications don't work on my phone. If I just don't happen to see your comment, just comment again and I will respond. I check my comments very often, like periodically, I'll probably check my comments first thing when I wake up tomorrow and probably like the afternoon or something. But yeah, so also Discord, I will leave the link down in the description below. I will edit this video tomorrow when I wake up. It'll probably drop sometime in the afternoon, potentially maybe in the morning if you guys are lucky. I'm not sure yet. There's no set in stone time or none of that. But yeah, so that's it. That's it for me, guys. Shoot, it's your boy the Anime Abu, and I'm out. Deuces.